we cannot achieve fiscal deficit. Secondly, our interest outgo on accumulated public debt is 1/3 of the total revenue, but that is also a very big drain on government revenues, and the more fiscal deficit you contract, you are adding to this again. So this is the conundrum. You have to break this. So the best way to break it would be subsidies. Now that is a political issue, and one is not very sure whether it will be possible to achieve any major significant breakthrough on cutting down subsidies, just about petroleum subsidy, because we have seen that just a little bit of rise, 17 or 18 rupees should be covered. Of that, just about 5 rupees increase created such a huge ruckus, and some rollback was talked of, but anyway, nothing.
It actually looked very radical, something they could have avoided and done incrementally, increasing 1 rupee or 2 rupee every time. Straight away 5 rupees really affected the consumer.
I mean,
also.
Unless you link it up with the landed price, that is the way it should be, but that is the first best solution. You cannot get it possibly, but you have to achieve this somehow or other. At least long-term horizon, one has to see that how disinvestment, yes, disinvestment is important, but disinvestment is not going to contribute that much to containing. How much do you expect? 40,000 crore, even if whole amount is raised, it is not that much big a contribution which you can get out of cutting down subsidies, but that is a political issue. As for current account, I would refer to, you see, we are importing oil, petroleum products to the tune of $160 billion. Now, then of course it can be achieved.
Okay. Now, Ms. Husnumar, if I have to ask you, you also feel that it's time for the government to look for ideas, innovative ideas, as what the finance minister says, to bring in new policies, that how are we generating, how to create revenue, because the issue here is that the way we are generating revenue, we don't have much options left. Also, especially in areas like be the land acquisition, investment coming in, the projects hanging for days, years, and we don't really know how these projects will go through. It is also time to focus on innovative ideas.
Well, I really don't think you need very innovative ideas, Natasha, because frankly, it's just a question of tightening your belt. It's just like any household budget. If your expenses are more than your income, then you have to cut down somewhere. It doesn't call for any innovation or anything very dramatic. On the contrary, what it calls for is to be very practical, very sensible. Realize, okay, you have to cut your coat according to your cloth. And if you don't have the revenues, which the government does not have, then you cut back on subsidies or whatever else is wasteful expenditure, like LPG, for instance. There is absolutely no reason why it should still continue to be subsidized, because LPG is used not by the poor, it's used essentially by the middle and the upper middle class. But I'm very skeptical that the government will be able to do any of the tough action that is required, simply because it doesn't have the numbers. It can, like in the case of the FDI discussion, which really did not have to be debated in Parliament and voted upon because it was an executive decision, but it was certainly good that the government had it debated in Parliament. And you got your support, but how did you get your support? Now you're seeing the political consequences, that when you go to bed with all kinds of people, then they want a price. So today the government is having to push through the bill on reservation, which is going to be very divisive.
For time now for us to slip into a short break. Next, when we come back, even you can join us live in our program. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You are watching Public Forum. In this particular segment, we'll discuss the important bills that are expected to come up in Lok Sabha related to economy in this session. If you have any questions, join us live in our program. Call us on our toll-free number 1-800-115313. Coming back to you, Dr. Murthy, now there are several important bills which are still pending in Lok Sabha, and we just have 4 more days to go for the winter session. We heard Mr. Chidambaram saying that he wants the support of all the political parties to get these bills through from the Lok Sabha and from the Rajya Sabha also. Now, few of these important bills are the insurance laws amendment bill, also the pension Fund Regulatory Development Authority Bill, Banking Laws Amendment Bill, Companies Bill. If you have to tell us more on these bills.
Well, if you see the recent success of the government in clearing at least the FDI and retail issue, there is some kind of optimism, there is some kind of expectations on the government to clear this pending bills. We all know that
The resettlement and rehabilitation, which is a huge challenge.
this is part and parcel of that.
Yeah,
yes,
true.
yeah.
I have a caller with me now from Gujarat. Yes, sir, please ask your question.
इकोनॉमिक रिफॉर्म्स के लिए विदेशी सहाय और डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट के साथ साथ देश के मैन पावर को एजुकेटेड और प्रोडक्टिव बनाना कितना जरूरी है. करप्शन को रोकना वो भी क्या एक इकोनॉमिक रिफॉर्म्स नहीं मानना चाहिए. थैंक्स टू
Dr. Murthy, you'd like to respond?
I didn't understand. Hindi, I
okay,
don't know.
okay.
ऐसा है कि देखिए करप्शन तो एकदम ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई मैजिक वॉन्ड हो, और जब तक सिविल सोसाइटी में भी ज्यादा अवेयरनेस हो, जैसे राइट टू इन्फॉर्मेशन आ गया है, तो करप्शन जैसी जो समस्या है उसका तो ओवरनाइट सोल्यूशन नहीं हो सकता. और जहां तक आप कह रहे हैं कि एजुकेशन की जरूरत है, उसका तो कोई डाउट ही नहीं है कि जो सोसाइटी में एजुकेशन ज्यादा है, लिटरेसी ज्यादा है, जिनमें लोगों को ज्यादा ज्ञान है, तो नेचुरली उनमें ज्यादा डेवलपमेंट होगा. जैसे आप देखेंगे इंडिया, साउथ कोरिया, जैसे हम साउथ ईस्ट एशियन टाइगर्स को कहते हैं, सबसे बड़ा फर्क यही है कि वहां पे लिटरेसी और एजुकेशन में उन्होंने काफी ध्यान दिया. हम लोगों ने खासकर प्राइमरी एजुकेशन में ध्यान नहीं दिया, तो उस वजह से हम अभी इसका नतीजा हमें सहना पड़ रहा है.
This demographic might be a liability for us if we don't invest in education and also in health. But coming to you, Ms. Husnul, as we're talking about the important bills, especially banking bill is seeing a lot of debate. I know the kind of opposition it is witnessing from the other political parties, and also the companies bill, how it is going to improve the standards of corporate governance.
Well, Natasha, if you look at the list of pending bills, thanks to PRS, we have a readily available list. There are, I hope so. I hope
Yeah.
But because we'll not see discussion happening on these bills, which is indeed very important, and the very nature of these bills, it is important that everyone must know that what these bills are.
But most of the bills go to the standing committee. So the standing committee is a small, concentrated group of people who do spend a lot of time on that. So that is not a problem, because ultimately Parliament is there to legislate.
Right.
But wider discussion of the bills is very important, because that creates the public awareness also.
True. I have another caller with me now from Kolkata. Yes, so please ask your question.
Good evening to all of you. Yes, it is true that Government of India is trying to reform our economic condition, but at the cost of what? Because in our India, once upon a time, all our distinguished visitors know that MAMC, mining and machine alloys, Hindustan cable factories, this type of industries is a very big industry, but they have closed down because they have failed to diversify their business. If ITC can diversify their business in a very nice way from tobacco to FMCG, then why the Government of India is not helping them to this type of industries there? Because if this type of industries are again opened, then our economic condition will grow more and more better.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pal, for raising that point. Mr. Roy, would like to respond?
See, there are two aspects to this. First is,
people might question, in civil aviation, Air India has been suffering for long. All we are doing is just providing money, but we haven't really checked the performance, how Air India is doing. And even in this supplementary demands for grants, another 2,000 crore has been given to Air India. I have another caller with me now from Hyderabad. Yes, sir, please ask your question.
Sir, hello, good evening, madam.
Good evening, sir. Please ask your question.
Madam, in India, within one sector, the economic planning commission estimates one number, and finance commission estimates one number, and even Ministry of Finance commission estimates one number. So why don't we have a single estimation for all growth rate, for all GDP, for all?
Okay, I'll raise that question to one of our panelists later on the other side of this break. It's now time for us to take a short break. We'll be right back. Stay. Welcome back. You're watching Public Forum. In this edition of Public Forum, we're discussing the challenges facing the Indian economy and what necessary interventions we need at this stage. In our final segment, we'll be asking this to our panelists. If you have any questions, join us live in our program. Call us on our toll-free number 1-800-115313. Coming back to you, Dr. Murthy, what is your growth forecast at this stage?
5.9%. I am very optimistic.
Revenue involved is recovered. Finally, my suggestion is that defense spending is reduced by all the countries of the world, and this is not a wishful thinking. With the end of the Cold War, the amount saved from defense spending can be used to make the economy stronger.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rao. Ms. Pusnumar, you would like to respond?
My response to your first question really about high interest rates is also at the long term.
So you don't need to have a long-term strategy to tackle the problems facing the Indian economy. But final comments from all of you now. Last 3 minutes on the show. I'll start with you, Dr. Murthy. How are things at this stage for the Indian economy?
I'm glad that Maithili said that interest rate doesn't really matter. Indirectly, that's what she's saying. In fact, if you see the growth that we have seen in the pre-crisis period, it is not
interest rate at this stage, which is actually affecting the investor confidence and the sentiment also. That's why they're not investing.
No, I think that is not correct. I mean, it is the investments. If you see, the high investment period is the one where we had the high interest rates. Okay. If you see until 2008,
we are moving the right path, and things will change and things will improve.
Well, I mean, after this 3 years gap, we have been seeing some kind of good news coming.
Comments from you, Mr. Roy.
I disagree with both of them because savers save compulsively. They don't have to be given interest rate for saving. This is what a very famous banker told me when I first met him. Savings abroad. So one has to find a kind of via media, but investment is very important. Interest rate is very important for investment. I give you
interest is indeed very important. I'm completely out of time. Final comments from you.
Just one very quick comment. I don't think it is not that interest rate does not matter. It matters, but it's not the only thing that matters. Government matters much more. Policy enablers matter much more.
So at this stage, you feel economy is indeed is going the right path.
I think it's bottoming out, but I would not agree with Banu Murthy because to get 5.9, we have to grow at over 6% in the next half year. Because so far we've only grown at 5.4%. So my estimate of GDP for
5.1% is still achievable.
Not at all.
Not at all. Okay. So I have panelists who are both pessimistic and optimistic. We have to wait and watch how things will change, but thank you so much for joining us in this program, and that's all we have for you in this edition of Public Forum. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.